All right, so the California Housing Finance Agency, aka CALHFA, they have finally come out with their rules for this year, which includes the juicy details to the Dream for All program. And so all your tantalizing questions that you guys have had over the last year about what's up with the Dream for All program, we got that info now. Let's talk about the first generational buyer, because that's been a hot topic. It's a hot issue. Basically, like, are my parents allowed to own a home? Yes or no? And there's been a lot of ambiguity behind that. And a lot of like, well, hey, that's not fair. I mean, why can't I buy if my parents? Look, I'm not trying to get into the politics of this. I'm just sharing with you guys what the rules are. So here's how it works. First generation home buyer is defined as a home buyer who has not been on title, held an ownership interest, or been named on a mortgage to a home on a permanent foundation or on owned land. So basically, like, if you had a mobile home and you didn't own the land, then you're a first generational buyer. And this is in the United States over the last 7 years. So if you owned a home in Guam, well, you're a first generational buyer. Or if you owned a home 10 years ago and you sold it and you haven't owned a home in the last 7 years, you're a first generational buyer. But wait, there's more. Now here's the sticky part, because before we were kind of just talking about like a first time buyer, not necessarily a first generational buyer. So here's where your parents come in, and they basically, once again, mom and dad are ruining your life. To the best of the buyer's knowledge, which by the way, this is all done via an affidavit that you sign attesting that this is true. They don't actually go and search out to see if mom and dad really own a home. So guess what? There's going to be a shit ton of fraud around this, so prepare for that. But if your parents, biological or adoptive, do not have any present ownership interest in a home in the United States, or if deceased, whose parents at the time of their death did not have an ownership interest in property in the United States, then you are a first generational buyer. But you got to have both of those. It's not one or the other, it's both. Now here's a caveat. If you were part of the foster care system, if you were a foster kid, then you're automatically going to be considered a first generational buyer. So there you have it, folks. CalHFA finally letting the lid off of the first generational buyer. Leave your comments below. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Don't give me the thumbs down just because CalHFA made this rule. I'm just sharing it with you guys. I'll see you on the next video. Oh my God!